Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome back. We got the Blind Pig, episode 4B, more draft sleepers. Gonna take a look more on the defensive side. Last time we went pretty much playmaker the whole time. There was one defender that we talked about, Cameron McGrone, but the rest were primarily playmaking wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. Mike is still in love with John's running back out of, I don't even remember what school he went to.
North Carolina A&T State, baby.
Yep, that guy was a stud.
Yeah, he was like 5'9", right?
5'9", he was like 225 or something, and he didn't get caught from behind. It was rather impressive.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, we'll tee things up. Just a reminder, all of the videos showed tonight will be linked in the description with not only the name of the player, but the name of the site that provided it, because we're not trying to take away any copyright infringement, and people spend a lot more time on this than we do. So first up, I got John looking at. Are we looking at?
Yeah, we're gonna look at Walter Little, an offensive tackle from Stanford. But give me a minute because I want to talk about the O-line just for a minute. So,
because I need a second to pull it up because I suck.
All right. So, I think fans pretty much are consensus. The consensus pick is in the first couple of picks this year is going to be an offensive tackle. Specifically the left tackle. We do have Sadiq Charles coming back, but I don't even know if the coaches really know what Sadiq Charles can do. And certainly the bar for left tackle might be higher than what he can produce. We just don't know. Cornelius Lucas was our starter at the end of the year last year. And actually he did a better job than people really gave him credit for. He played 12 games, 8 starts, gave up just 2 sacks and a single penalty. And his rating for that last half of the season was up there with Morgan Moses. So he did a great job, but he's kind of a professional journeyman. So I don't know that he's going to be the long-term answer there. I'm pretty skeptical about that. And of course, he replaced Jaron Christian, who we've watched kind of go in and out of the lineup. He tore his MCL, so who knows what's going to happen with him. He's in the last year of a 4-year deal, and he counts $1.2 million against the cap. So hard to know what they're going to do with Jaron Christian.
Not to hijack you, John, but did you see the pictures of Sadiq Charles that he tweeted a couple days ago? He got thin.
Oh, really? No, I haven't.
Here, look, I will.
Like
I already got it teed up. Look at this. That's not a left tackle body to me.
I don't know. Remember Jim Lachey?
That was 30 years ago.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but
he doesn't look like a beast.
I don't know what it was, like, because this popped up on my Twitter timeline, and I saw this, and I was like, he just does not look as thick and as full as he did coming out of college. So, did he lean down to move in? Maybe.
I don't. There's not a lot of context here. I mean, I'd like to see him standing next to Chris Samuel, then we could tell something.
So,
the bigger question is, what does BAPE mean?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Okay, you don't know.
Anyways. Sorry, John.
It's fine. The other thing that's still out there, the rumors about Orlando Brown Jr. with Baltimore, them moving him out because he's unhappy playing right tackle for them. But even if we got him, I still think we need O-line depth in this draft. So let's assume that we're going to go left tackle somewhere in the first 4 picks, first 4 rounds, which would be our 4 first picks. One thing I wanted to mention before I tell you one of the guys I like, I read a recent Riot Reports article. It just kind of jumped out at me as I was doing a little looking to prepare for this. And they had a study where they looked at all the positions drafted in the first round, and offensive tackles had the highest rate of success of any position group, the lowest bust factor in the last 20 years. And that was kind of surprising to me. And it made me think, maybe it would be a mistake for them to overthink it with the first pick. Maybe just go ahead and grab Christian Darrisaw or Alex Leatherwood, whoever the top left tackle available there is, and be done with it. I know it's not a sexy pick, but I think it would, history says go ahead and do that. So I don't know. It really depends on what happens in front of that pick, I think, as to what we do there. But I do think even if we don't go first round left tackle, this is a great draft to need an O tackle in, because it is chock full. It's probably one of the deepest positions available this year. So I'm going to stop running my mouth and talk about Walker Little. Walker Little is a Stanford player. He's a massive guy. I don't know about Sadiq Charles, but Walker Little is a giant. He's 6'7", 320 pounds. His both his grandfather and uncle have played in the league, which, you know, I like that. NFL football runs in his family. It might be a little bit of a stretch to call him a sleeper because he's a likely day 2 pick. And I've seen him rated kind of all over the place. I've seen him as high as the 5th best offensive tackle in the draft and as low as the 15th. And that was by Walter Football, who usually does a pretty good job. He's been a little bit of a forgotten prospect because he's played just one game in the last 2 seasons. He tore his ACL in 2019, and then he opted out of the 2020 COVID season. And then he kind of had a poor pro day at Stanford. So those factors combined to probably cause him to slide down some boards. But if he had entered the NFL draft in 2020, there are some evaluators that had him listed as the 2nd best offensive tackle on the draft boards. He is very athletic, a very good run blocker and pass protector. He gave up just 1 pressure in his last 7 games. He has quick feet. But to me, the thing that stands out about him is his ability to sustain blocks. And once he gets his hands on you, you are not going to shed that block. He's just very tenacious. He also has a little bit of attitude and aggression. And you'll see him in some of these clips. He'll just take pass rushers and throw them to the ground like rag dolls. He's strong that way. Some people say he's not strong enough for his size and needs to work on that. And he also has a tendency to fall down and lose his balance when he's blocking. So he needs to work on his balance some. But again, if he had played last year in 2020, I think he would be a no question a 1st rounder or early 2nd rounder. And we could possibly see him drop to the 3rd, 4th, or the 5th round. So because of that offensive tackle depth that I was talking about. So I would really love for them to take a look at this guy.
I believe that was Bryce Love who just broke that long run off the left side.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but how many years did he play?
He played, I think, 2 seasons.
Okay. So is he a junior?
No, I think he's a senior. He opted out of last season.
Oh. So
Yeah,
He's got a season of eligibility left if he wanted it, but he's decided to go pro.
Yes.
okay.
And
Yeah, 310, right?
Yep, 310.
6'7".
320. And he looks like he could still put some muscle on, you know. He's not,
Oh yeah, he could put NFL weight on real easy. I'm watching this. He stands tall. But when he gets up, he doesn't get leveraged. It seems like even when he's up, he's not getting leveraged out. I would be interested, but like right there, he's got a helmet and a half over the defender, but he's still controlling his pass block. That was or that run block. There he just threw the defensive end around like it was nothing.
So Don, are you suggesting or predicting that he would be available at 51?
I think so, but it's really hard to say, like I said, because you'll see him rated as an early 2nd rounder, and then you'll see him rated as a 5th rounder. So it just depends on. I mean, I think the pro day hurt him because he didn't play well, and then him being not really playing for 2 years hurt him. So it just depends on how those scouts have evaluated him. But I mean,
one of the sites I use, the Draft Network, has him rated 174 on their big board, which would put him firmly into you're talking the 5th round if he was the 147th pick.
If he goes beyond the 4th round, I would be shocked just because of his upside and the physicality that he's got.
But do you think he's worth the 51st is my question.
I like the 2nd guy I'm going to talk about better than him, but I think he's definitely worth a mid-round pick.
51 sounds a little high to me, just based on the fact he hasn't played in 2 years. It's kind of an unknown quantity, but as a 3rd or 4th, tempting.
He's
Yeah,
big.
but it all depends on where he ends up, right? I mean, 51 may look high at the moment, but if the dude comes in and turns into a starter and 2 years down the road, he's played 16 games a season, suddenly we got him dirt cheap, right? He could have been a 1st round pick. So
Yeah.
And John's a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think 51. I don't think the fact 51 sounds expensive because of his skill set. I think 51 sounds expensive because of where he's getting talked about. it might not be that you don't take him at 51 because nobody's talking about him at 51. You take him at 74 or 82 because
Right.
that's closer to what his value is, even though.
And I
I'm-
think there's so many really good tackles in this draft. Like I said, he's gonna get pushed down artificially, in my opinion. Not so much because he is really a 5th round talent, but because there's so many guys that are getting slotted ahead of him. So it's
Because
just
there's going to
have 2020 tape.
Mhm.
While he was sitting
Mhm.
on the couch somewhere, they were playing, and so they've got a higher rating at the moment, and that's not unfair.
yeah.
Right. So there could be 7, 8, 9 teams that take a left tackle. So then they're not in the market to take another left tackle when their 2nd, 3rd, 4th round pick comes around.
Maybe it's me, but this kid smells like a Bill Belichick sleeper. I robbed the NFL. I don't know. I just
If you get him in the 4th, maybe, or the 3rd, if you take him at 51, he needs to make the team and he needs to have a career. He needs to stick with you.
True. But he's not necessarily projected as a 1st-year starter, though, Mark. I mean, that's pretty
Right.
much 1st or 2nd round territory. 51, you can. Well,
I
technically,
get the
51
feeling that if
2nd
we
round.
want him, we'll have to move into the 4th round. That's kind of my feeling. I don't think he's gonna last. He's got too much physical talent.
It's intriguing, right? And that's kind of what defines a sleeper, right? This is a guy that
Mhm.
you might get for good value who has a high upside. You roll the dice once in a while.
All right. So we're going to move on to Mark for Paulson Adebo. Did you know how to pronounce this?
Adebo is what I've heard other non-experts saying. So we're going with Adebo.
All right, cool.
The reason I kind of focused in on this cat is he's another one, by the way, who opted out in 2020. So his story is he showed up at Stanford in 2017, redshirted. His redshirt freshman season in 2018, he was all Pac-12 and was being talked about as a potential 1st round pick. He had a great season. He tackled 64 solo tackles, 4 picks, 17 pass defenses, and he was being considered a 1st round pick. He came back in 2019 and slid a little bit. He still turned in good numbers. He had another 4 picks his 2nd year. He had another 33 tackles this time, forced a fumble, and was routinely singled up on the other team's WR1, but he did slide some. So the bloom was off a little bit. He was still athletic. He just seemed a little unfocused from a couple of the things I read. So he decided to come back for his redshirt junior season. And then 2020 happened and he decided to opt out. So the man hasn't played again in a full year, and he's spent the time getting ready for the draft. So what I like about this kid, he is 6'1", just a hair under 200. You pack on 15 pounds of NFL weight and get him in shape and get him studied up. He's about a 4'4", 4'5" guy. And I think, and I'm a big fan of guys who have something to prove. And I think this guy's going to have something to prove. And I also, in my longtime quest, here, I've got a prop tonight. I am keeping a candle burning for Sean Taylor because he's been gone a long time. And we haven't had a safety since Sean Taylor, a free safety that we could talk about. So we're Sean Taylor tonight and we're burning a candle. I think this kid has a chance to convert. I think if he sticks as a corner, he could replace Fabian Moreau. I think he's in that mold, a little bit more speed perhaps. And I think with his speed and seems to have good instincts and hands, I swear I can see him converting in a couple of years to free safety with the right kind of coaching. I think that's diamond in the rough stuff. And you combine that with the sense that he's got something to prove. I think he might be a guy. The problem we've got now is the coaches can't really get to know the guy. I don't know if they've had a chance to see him, talk to him. You'd want to make sure his head and his heart were right. after taking the 2020 season off. And I'm not sure, there's been no consensus on really why he slid a little bit the second year, but he's got all kinds of physical talent. And I think that kind of defines sleeper too. Somebody might get a hard on for him and take him in the third, maybe. I think he might slide a little deeper than that. I wouldn't be unhappy at all to see us take him maybe at 4 in third or fourth round.
Man, I like you guys picking these sleepers out of Stanford. Typically, those guys are pretty smart.
Yeah, he just, if watching the clips, and again, they don't put plays where he turned the wrong way and he looks
Sure.
lost, but the man seems to know where the football is and where he's supposed to go. He doesn't get lost in coverage. He doesn't lose the ball in coverage. I think we talked about this on one of the earlier pods. We've had cornerbacks for years who are right there and then can't get their hands on the ball and finish the play. This guy looks like he's got the hand-eye and a little bit of attitude, all those things I like.
He looks like he plays bigger than 6'1".
I was about to say the exact same thing. If you watch him, he's big. He looks big. Like
looks
you look
long.
at him, you look at him, you say that guy's at least 6'3".
Well, I wonder
Yeah,
if he's
he-
playing
he's
against
not-
tiny receivers, and that's what we're seeing.
Maybe,
Well-
but to me, he plays bigger than 6'1". Not that 6'1" is small. I'm just saying he looks bigger than that. He
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah.
No, 6'1" is a good sized corner. I'd love that. And I think if you put a little bit more muscle on him, and if he's smart enough to switch over, we are going to have a free safety again in my lifetime. Maybe this is our guy.
Well, 6'1" isn't small for a safety either. So to your
Mm.
point, I mean, he could shift to that. I don't know. I mean, who was it that was opposite Sean Taylor? LaRon Landry, right?
LaRon, yeah,
Huh?
yeah, LaRon Landry, who
And I think LaRon
unfortunately,
Landry was 6'1".
yeah, but then that was this way. He just
That's
muscled
true.
himself right out of the NFL, right? I don't know, that was a strange deal with him.
He went to Indy, didn't he? He
Yeah.
went to Indy, right? And then he just could not. They wanted him to be with Bob Sanders, who was a top flight safety, and he just kind of flamed out.
I think he had injury issues too, didn't he? Like tears labrum or something, or
Yeah.
Yeah, his body couldn't keep up with that mass. You're just not meant to be that big and run that fast and hit
You
that.
are not. Remember Brady Anderson with the Orioles back in the
Yeah.
day?
Oh, you mean it's normal to go from 8 home runs to 30 in one season? Yeah.
Or 51 or whatever he had. Yeah, and then he couldn't stay healthy because all those muscles just couldn't stick.
All right. So I will jump on it here. My pick is a linebacker out of Georgia by the name of Monty Rice. I like this cat. He's a little on the smaller side. Here, I'll share my screen but if you watch him play, he's kind of ferocious. His knock and the concern with him is that he can be too aggressive. 10 times out of 10, give me the guy I got to reel in a little bit over the guy I
Yeah.
got to push.
I can work. I
especially-
can work with that.
especially at the linebacker position. He plays much bigger than his actual size. His listed size is officially 6 foot, 238 pounds. But if you watch him hit, if you watch him run, if you watch him play, he plays a lot longer. But you look at him and he's stout. So that's the kind of guy that he played middle linebacker and an interior linebacker position at Georgia. I don't know if I keep him there. Depending on what else happens at the linebacker position, I would almost look to put him maybe at the weak side because he does have some coverage skills. He does have the ability to blitz off the line. And furthermore, he's had some experience not only playing man coverage, but zone. You'll see some of the highlights if you watch him. He's very comfortable turning his hips and running backwards and running away from the ball and remaining in coverage and covering a crossing tight end or running back in the flat or something and coming downhill.
You know what he looks like to me? Am I stepping on you, Derek?
Were you gonna say London Fletcher? Because
Yeah, a smaller.
I saw London Fletcher when I was watching his film.
Yeah.
He has a minor injury history I think he dinged an ankle. He had a little bit of a knee issue, but not an actual tear, if I'm not mistaken. He was all SEC second team in 2019, and then he was all SEC first team in 2020. Originally, he had scholarships coming out of high school from 20 different schools, including Bama, Michigan, and he originally committed to LSU before he changed his mind and went to Georgia. So clearly, there's a lot of people that thought he was kind of good at football. He's got every tool you could want, and I look at a guy like, and this is gonna, I know Tom's gonna hate this, but I look like at a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Kiyomura. He is the same size height, but he's got almost 20 pounds on him. And he looks and he plays at almost the same speed. So I'm looking at a guy like that who could come in, play the sideline to sideline, be able to drop back in coverage, be that X factor linebacker. I don't know. Everybody talks about Zaven Collins in the first round. That's who Ken loves. You know, shout out to Ken. He decided he couldn't be a part of this pod tonight. But a guy like this who's falling, and he was rated 146th according to the Draft Network and 180th according to Pro Football Network. So you're solidly into the 4th and 5th round there. So being able to get a guy like that, he could come in and start. I think he could play opposite Holcomb outside if you need him to play inside. I think he's versatile enough that he can do that, even if he doesn't have that premier 6'2", 245, 250 strength. And he has a propensity to be able to rush. The only concern is, again, his size, shedding blockers. If he gets a pulling guard, he's not going to be able to beat the guard. I mean, that's just the way it is, because the guard's going to be bigger and stronger than he is. But,
I don't know. I keep thinking about our defensive line. He's not going to see a lot of pulling guards.
Is the pulling guard even going to get to him, or is Payne or Allen going to wipe him out and give him a clear path to the ball carrier?
Yeah, and when they need a blow, it's going to be Ioannidis, and I don't see pulling guards getting past any of those guys regularly. Every now and again, sure, absolutely, the scheme will be perfect, but our defensive line right now is the best I've seen since Gibbs in the mid 80s, when we're talking about Butts and Grant and Manley and Mann, right? Mm-hmm. And it might end up being better than that in the end. And our linebackers weren't anything to write home about in terms of, we didn't have any perennial Pro Bowlers, but they didn't have to worry about having to shed those offensive line guys. We get somebody with some speed who's got good hands, and it looks like this guy's got that. As long as he's a sure tackler, that's really what we're after at this point. And somebody that can get there, somebody that smells the ball, and somebody that can put somebody on the ground.
That's what jumped out at me watching his tape right there. The man tackles strong. His hands, no one was breaking arm tackles on this guy, and he seems to be pretty good at leveraging and throwing his weight on somebody and taking them down. I'm with Bob. We talked about this earlier in another pod too. If you got the D line, and I think Ron has talked about wanting linebackers who can tackle, who can help, who can contribute on the run. He obviously can do that. If he can maybe pick up a tight end or a running back out of the backfield as well, I think that's a guy. I like him.
Mm-hmm. The thing that jumps out at me from the videos is, and of course they're highlight videos, but he's just got a nonstop motor. And Holcomb's kind of that same kind of a player. He's just doesn't quit on the play. You can just tell. I mean, he's in the backfield, in the blink of an eye, and he clearly has a lot of motivation and drive in him.
Yeah, I would agree. And I agree. He's got a motor. What I saw was like a smaller, younger London Fletcher or a smaller, younger Wilbur Marshall. Those two names jumped out. But I love the way he tackled. To your point, it wasn't arm tackling. He had his body in it, but he was just relentless and great motor. So yeah, he covered well. So yeah. Sorry to repeat what you guys said. You guys made it easy for me. So,
Derek, what would you think would be a good value for him?
I mean, if he's rated 180 or 146 with compensatory picks, he would probably have to go 4th round. At the end of the day, looking at his game tape, if you miss on a linebacker in the first or the second. You know, if you go OT and you end up getting another factor player, or if you end up taking like a Mond in the third, you know, as a quarterback option, that second pick in the third round, if he's going to come in and start, do it. You know, at that point, it's worth it to me. I don't think he falls to the fifth round. I think there's enough tape on him that people are going to look at him and say, you know what, this guy can play ball.
What's his name?
I think there's, huh?
What's his name again?
Jesus, now my brain just went sideways because I searched for the
That's
one
a
that you
trick
sent me.
question. Come on, Tom.
Monty Rice. I had Pete Werner in my head because that's who he wants to talk about. And then Monty Rice.
Rice?
Yeah, Rice.
Out of Georgia.
Out of Georgia.
So I know everyone's going to groan if it happens, but don't be surprised if the very first thing we do in the draft, 19 or 18 days from now, whatever it is, if the very first thing that we do is trade down.
Yeah.
And I just say that because there's so many prospects at the positions that we need to boost up on our roster. I think that lacking that fourth round pick is a killer in this draft with it. And I just wouldn't be surprised to see him try to collect some more picks, more so than in another year.
That'll make me happier than trading up. I'll tell you that.
So here's the thing.
No joke.
How many picks do we have? 9, right? My
Uh,
question is,
No, we have
Third rounders
8.
and 2 7th rounders, right? We got
We have
8
8.
picks.
Yeah,
my question is, now that this team is actually starting to round out, how many slots are there? How many guys are going to make the team? And that's I'm just throwing that out there, big picture.
Right.
We're not gonna put 6 guys from this draft on the active roster.
I think we could though. See, I think one thing that I think Ron and company has set this team up at is there are not a lot of gaping, glaring holes. There's
Mhm.
you know, there's probably 2 positions on this team that we could go, if we don't address it, we go into it, we get worried, and that's probably tackle and linebacker.
Yeah, but think about this. We didn't think Landon Collins was going to be out, and we certainly did not think Cam Curl was going to
do what he did.
And
Right.
He came to us from the 7th round.
And
So
my
it's a-
point,
It's a depth thing. It's a depth thing, right? That's where these guys are gonna really help us.
Yeah,
and
don't know.
my point with all of that is that there's a lot of room for improvement, but not a lot of room for need. You know what I mean? So if there's a guy in the 4th or 5th round that makes a lot of sense to be able to grab them, yeah, they might seem like a later round pick, but they might view that guy as an upgrade over something we're not even thinking about. And because there is a lot of room for that improvement, but there's a comfort level at every position, that makes you a very dangerous team when it comes to the draft, because now you can take best player available and people aren't going to have any idea what you're thinking.
There's also a business side to this, and you guys have already talked about the fact that Ron has set us up to be in a position where, there aren't a lot of holes. I also think that sets us up as there aren't a lot of sacred cows.
True.
There aren't a lot of guys that we aren't willing to part with at this point in time. So if somebody comes in the 6th round and turns out to be one of these amazing cats that, blows somebody's mind and we didn't understand, maybe they just want it more. I tell you what, if there's one thing I've learned having coached youth sports the last 4 years, you can't put a value on the guy or the girl that wants it more than the next one down the line. I've had some really talented kids play for me who just kind of didn't care. And then I've had some kids play for me that didn't have a lot of talent, but good Lord, did they want it. And they just outplayed the kids with talent on a regular basis. And I'm not sure how much the NFL values that whole want it more than talent, right? They're into measurables and how big's the guy's hands and how high did he jump? And, is he related to who knows? But I don't see a situation where we're saying the first 3 guys make the team and the last 4 guys are on the practice squad. It's entirely possible that everybody in this draft makes the team. And it wouldn't be a publicity stunt like we saw how many years ago was it?
Yeah.
Went with Vinny Serrato, and we didn't have a 1st round draft pick, and we drafted those 2 guys in the 2nd round. Was a wide receiver and a tight end, and
Devin Thomas and Malcolm Kelly.
Okay, the fact that you remember that, Derek, really tells me that it left a bad taste in your
That
mouth.
was a Fred
brother.
Davis draft too. We took Fred
Yes, it
Davis in that
was.
draft too, right?
You know, but I mean, they crowed in August about the fact that every single draft pick made the team. And I really remember all of us sitting back on the boards and going, who cares?
Why?
Who cares? You know, I mean, and I don't see this coaching staff as that kind of thing. Honestly, I believe that if 8-9 guys out of this draft make the team, it's because Ron Rivera and his staff believe that those 8-9 guys give us the best chance to win a game in September or a game in December.
Yeah.
Well, you don't see him giving Jeremy Sprinkle another 3 years to prove that we weren't idiots for drafting him. That's the difference. Is
Point.
if you don't perform, your ass is going to be gone on this roster. It's just the way it is, and we've really missed that for a long time.
It's almost
Even
like
if you were
any,
drafted at 15, hence Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have, honestly, I believe he has skated because he has all of the talent in the world, but not the heart that Bob was just talking about. You
Yeah.
know, you could be all the talent, but you don't have the drive that some of these other kids do on the team. But, you know, it's amazing to me, right, that he actually not only made it into the league, but he made it in the league in the first round.
I
you know,
mean,
to John's point about trading down from 19, I will not be surprised at all. I think it's actually a pretty good chance that might happen.
I also won't be unhappy as long as they, you know, get real value for it. And it's not just a, you know, oh, look, we can
trade
pick up
back?
3 picks somewhere, right?
Trade
No.
back, yeah.
Yeah. I would love that.
And, you know, having worked on one of the earlier episodes of this where we were talking about who we take at 19, I got to tell you, I'm not, unless somebody like a Darashaw falls to 19, I'm not sold on anybody at that pick.
Micah
It's a really
Parsons.
deep draft, but that
Well, that would be a
mean that-
fault. Parsons stock is, not to go on a whole nother tangent. Parsons stock has been dropping because of character concerns. People have been saying that he just might not have the heart, and they're saying now he could go anywhere from 18 to 28.
I think someone's going to get a Jones and take him though. We'll see.
Well, we're also in the time of the funny business right now. Everybody's saying
Yeah.
anything they can do to manipulate draft status.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. So, late edition Tom Skins fan has requested Pete Werner, the linebacker out of Ohio State.
All right, so I have nothing written. I have no stats. Go ahead and pull them up. Thanks for that, Derek.
Yep.
But, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's 6'3", 230. And so hit pause for a second, Derek.
Pause.
Just like John said, give me a second before you play it, and hitting pause here is fine. Derek knows this. The rest of you guys don't. I do not want us to draft a quarterback in the first round. I would love my focus should be O-line or linebacker. And if Darisaw or Jeremiah from Notre Dame aren't available at 19, or even if we go to your point, John or Bob, and say, you know, I think you said it as well, Mark. Let's trade back. I would love it. Let's get more draft points. This guy, I don't know where he's ranked, but so Chase Young overshadowed him, but I think we could. So if we don't get linebacker or in the first or second, and by the way, I would love Darisaw in one of those 2 rounds. If we trade back and still get him, or still get O-line and linebacker are my focus before we get a quarterback. If we can get somebody like him in the later rounds, 3rd or 4th or later, he's big, he's got a motor, he's relentless. And yes, has he benefited since he played with Chase Young? Yeah. But I know he made a lot of plays in spite of Chase Young being on the same defense. So
Nice.
I see him as a guy that we can get later, cheaper, and he's big, and he's fast, and he can cover. But more importantly, from what I've read, he's got a great character that would be in line with what Rivera is looking for. So I welcome your thoughts.
Yeah, I think
the highlights were jumpy, so I don't know if you saw much.
I think the character and I think two things that Rivera and Del Rio, especially being former linebackers himself, two things that we can be pretty rest easy about is they're going to bring in guys that listen to the coaches and that are aggressive as hell. Those are the two things. And if you want to call it character, to me, that's the only character that I care about is that you listen to the coaches and you're a team guy. I don't care if you're, if you're raising money for a charity out in the community. But I want them to listen to the coaches, be humble and be able to be coached up and maximize their potential. But I feel pretty comfortable that no matter which linebackers we end up taking, it's going to be some quality guys.
Yeah. Well, this guy kind of reminds me of Neil Okowitz.
Neil Okowitz. All right.
I'm seeing him listed at 6'3", 242.
No, he's a big guy.
He is a big guy. And his negative is lacks classic size. Okay, sure.
I just want to point out my wife's head made an appearance in the lower right-hand corner. If anyone watching wants to backtrack and check that out.
Sweet.
Well, the production of this video just went way the hell up.
Well, I want to know why she's in the lower right-hand corner.
I believe she was looking for the hair dryer, but I don't know.
John,
so
you need a hair dryer?
I do not need a hair dryer.
According to this, he is considered to potentially be a third rounder. He could go as high as a second, and the analysis is he's still underrated.
According to the title of the video, he's underrated. I'm just saying.
Underrated, correct. So if you're talking about a guy that could go third or potentially second, and that's underrated, you're talking about a top level first round talent. Like,
do we know if he's fast? Like, is there a 40 time?
Let's see what we can find out here.
Not having the combine really kind of screwed that up.
I know. Did you notice
honestly,
how everybody ran a 4.40 this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, for linebackers, I could care less about his 40 time. I care about his shuttle time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need. Yeah, that's the one.
Highlights I saw he could cover, but
That's the one thing I couldn't tell.
4.58 is his 4.58 is his 40, 39.5-inch vert, 6.953 cone. So
he's athletic for a 6'3", 240.
Yeah.
I don't know. 4.58 seems a little slow. I do that before breakfast. Come on.
Yeah, get out of here, Bob. You haven't seen 4.58 in your life.
I run a 4.58 30.
I run in my car. Sure.
Dude, you're giving me about 10 yards credit.
I'm not sure I could do that.
All right, John.
In
we
my
want to
head.
jump. John, do we want to jump on Justin Hilliard and do an instant react, or should we run down to Mark's Chaz Surratt?
But does anybody like him or no?
Oh yeah, I love him. I do. Size is great. Speed looks good. He looks angry. And when you're an underrated second round pick, you're talking about elite.
Anybody
Tom,
else?
what you don't know is that I've been pining away for a linebacker since our very first pod, so I'm in love with the kid.
Okay, cool. That's my only addition.
John's carrying Mark's carrying pictures of linebackers in his wallet now.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
So we got another linebacker that brother Ken was going to talk about and wasn't feeling well tonight. But the one that he was going to talk about is Justin Hilliard, who is an Ohio State boy.
Also of Ohio State.
Yeah, they've got two of them.
Kid can play.
Grief. 2 from Stanford, 2 from Ohio State, 1 from Georgia.
So one thing I want you guys to watch, I watched this video earlier today, and I want you to watch his closing speed, man, because this guy can cross the field in a hurry.
Is it 47?
Yeah. I want to point something out on that play right there. I don't know if you guys noticed that. He leg tackled a quarterback. He didn't care about smacking him and getting a big hit. And he probably saved 3 yards trying to
I took note of that too. He's super solid tackler. He always goes for the tackle, not for the Sports Center highlight. And he's another high motor kid. If you watch him, he's just all over the place.
He just shucked a tackle and ran down a 14-yard loss.
You'll see how many times he's in the backfield. The guys are trying to get to the edge and they can't get to the edge because he just seals it off right there.
Yep.
They cannot get to the edge.
What is he, a Will?
I think so.
Yeah, looks like it.
That's what I thought. It didn't look like he was lining up on the strong side.
He's
And
only
he's definitely
he's
not
only
interior.
6 foot. He's 6 foot and some spare change, but 220 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Again,
like-
man, that size is. I like it. I like that size. It's
He was
compact.
by the tight end before the tight end knew he was there. I mean, the guy never had a chance to block him.
Again,
And here's the thing: he played on a roster that was loaded with linebackers. So he's doing this stuff. He's not getting that many opportunities. Put it that way. He didn't play a lot, but when he played, he made noise. In fact, I don't know if you watched the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State beat, I want to say Northwestern. Is that right?
Mhm.
But
Can't be.
anyway, he had a big interception in that game, even though he's kind of a spot player for them.
Got great closing speed.
And
So I'm
love
looking
the
at-
fact that
at-
he wraps up. He's
Yeah.
thinking about it. He doesn't want the guy to get away from him.
I'm looking at the Draft Network. He is rated 231st. You're supremely at the end of day 3 at that point. What's Mr. Irrelevant? 256? Is that right?
Something like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
260s, I think, but
And then Pro Football Net, and then Pro Football Network has him at. I know, I just lost my screen. Just exploded.
Something must be sinking him. It can't just be physical. There must be something else going on.
Well, he's had a couple injuries, but nothing major. I mean, he had a bicep injury, and then the next year I think he had an Achilles injury, not like a devastating Achilles injury, but enough to keep him out of the lineup. And I just think it's a case of the guy, every time he gets on the field, he's flashing this high motor, everything you guys are talking about. But he's just a smallish linebacker, and he's on a team that's stocked with linebackers, big, linebackers who probably look better on paper than he does. I just think he might be one of those guys that might have been the best linebacker on the team, but he just never didn't get enough opportunities to show it.
that's cool.
Another thing I liked hearing is he's apparently like one of the most popular guys in the locker room.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing Terry McLaurin.
Chase Young's going to endorse the move.
So the Draft Network's got him listed. His ideal role is a Sam.
Yeah,
And I haven't seen him line up as a Sam in these highlight clips at all, ever.
Yeah, I don't know if I put him front side. I want him.
I saw that too, Bob. I don't really understand that.
Yeah. Now, he looks like a weak side or an inside
hybrid.
in a 3-4 to me, but
Or a hybrid kind of drop safety type.
That was the
Yeah.
interception I was just talking about against Northwestern, where he jumped up right in front of the receiver in the end zone and took it away.
Sua Cravens without the
without the Sua or the Cravens. Sorry, that was mean.
Fair enough.
I like Justin Hilliard. I like that. Hey, how about we take both of them? We take Warner in the second and Hilliard in the 7th, and we can completely revamp our linebacking core in
I'm on
one
board with
draft.
that.
Well, we're gonna have to make room for Chaz Surratt too, who we'll be talking about
Yep.
here in a second.
Well, there's an easy segue. We'll go ahead and flip it to Chaz Surratt here, who, by the way, was the draft pick of the BGO mock draft vote that we put through a couple weeks ago. I don't know if anybody caught that.
I should know that because I'm on BGO, but I didn't know.
Oh, yeah,
Because
North
maybe you've got
Carolina.
a small interest in the
Yeah.
site, Mark.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I check it out from time to time. So
Yeah, this kid's good.
everything we've talked about tonight is this guy, and I've kind of developed a little bit of a crush on this kid because his story, as much as what he shows on film is his story. John probably knows a good part of this, being down from North Carolina way. But Chaz is listed, depending on where you see him, anywhere from 6'1.5" to 6'3", and just under 230. So I project him at say 6'2", 240 in a year or two in the NFL. He's got room to grow. So this kid was a star quarterback in high school, and was recruited, came to North Carolina, started as quarterback in 2017 as a redshirt freshman. Wasn't much of a quarterback. He started 7 games and got hurt, messed up his wrist. When he finally came back for 2018 season, he had a 4-game suspension because he and some of his teammates got caught selling team shoes, which is a bad thing, they apparently.
What's he doing out there?
So he got in trouble, but that seems to be an isolated incident, and he's done his mea culpas. When he came back, he clearly wasn't a quarterback. He threw a couple of passes. He was like 4 for 10 in his one game he played in 2018. And he decided, because he's been saying even before high school, that he wanted to play in the NFL. The guy is just focused on playing in the NFL. And he decided that he was going to go to the other side of the ball, and showed up at the first part of camp and went over to the linebackers room and sat down in there, and they didn't chase him out. So he became a linebacker. He was a competitive chess player. I mean, the guy's smart. He desperately wants to play football. So before getting into his stats, what this all says to me, guys in high school who were quarterbacks, I don't know if you all knew quarterbacks in high school. I did. These guys don't generally care about sticking their face into the scrum and getting messed up. They're the quarterback. They're the star. He was the same in college. He wants to play in the NFL so bad. He changed, became a linebacker, and excelled in his first year. He talks about bringing a quarterback's perspective to the game. He's sitting back there looking at the quarterback. He knows what the guy's thinking and what he's going to do. I think that's a big advantage. So he shows up his first year in 2019. He played in all 13 games, first team all ACC, runner-up ACC defensive player, 15 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 10 quarterback hurries. He was all over the place. In 2020, he kind of polished up. The stats weren't quite as good. He did have another 6 sacks. But when I see the kid play, I see a guy who doesn't take a bad step. I see him chase the ball. He's on it. Got a little bit of an attitude when he does get to the guy. I kind of see him as when he's not going to play inside, despite the fact that he's 6'2" and he's going to be 240. I don't think he's an inside guy. I think he's an outside guy. But he's just got there's something about his attitude. When you read some of his quotes, and I won't read his quotes, I didn't write them down, but he just sounds like a guy who knows he's always wanted to be in the NFL. He's going to do anything it takes. He's got the brains, and he's only played 2 years as a linebacker. He's got a lot of upside left. I think he may well I think he's going to end up being a starter in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be a star, but I think he's going to be a solid player for somebody.
I'm biting my tongue here because somebody needs to convert this kid into an NFL safety, because that's where I see him.
I thought you were going to say quarterback.
I see that
speed for that.
I see that hybrid. I can see that though. Like the everybody goes back to Simmons, the kid out of Clemson last year, who was 6'4", 240, and he could run a 4.4 40. Like that kind of player that can play weak side. He can cover a tight end. He can cover the flat. He can cover a running back that comes out on a wheel route. But he can also rush the passer. You know, you can put him down in the box, and you don't have to worry about him getting outmatched. If you need to kind of move him out and play nickel press into a zone, into that kind of a position, so that you're not completely stuck, you know, in mismatches. I'm a firm believer now. The NFL is going to matchups. NFL depth charts mean nothing now. It's just about matchups. So
I wouldn't want him to be misutilized just at linebacker. I think he can cover so much more. But
I hear what you're saying.
It's incredible. I think we need to. Well, I'll put it this way: to be at a major college program and totally not only switch positions, but move to the other side of the ball, and 2 years later you have draft profiles out on Google with your name on them
and excel.
That's pretty amazing.
He didn't just make the switch. He's excelled at it, and he's just getting better and better. I think his upside's high. Tom, I'm thinking about what you said about free safety. I don't quite see the athleticism I think he'd need back there. I think he'd need to drop a little weight instead of gain it. My preference would be to see him pack on 12, 15 pounds of NFL muscle and still get sideline to sideline, and stop the run. But if he ends up being a hybrid guy and he can crash from maybe strong, I don't know about free, but we'll see. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, he's posting a 4.59 40, and that's probably not going to cut it out in the open field as a free safety. But he's absolutely got what it takes to play, strong down against the box, almost like a nickelbacker.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about I think about guys like Reeves and Apke, and I know Apke for a white guy was fast, but I just see him better than Apke as a safety. I mean, golly, he's, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but God, when I saw some of our safety play, I would love to see him alongside Collins or
Curl.
Wow. But Reeves wasn't bad, but I just see him better than Reeves or Apke.
Well, Apke's probably playing his final season as a Washington football team.
I don't disagree with you, but we've had him for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, I think if he makes the team, we haven't drafted well this year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, Apke.
Yeah, I think his time is probably done.
So next up, John has one that he I'm not going to say he stole from me, but one I share the intrigue on this next guy, because this guy, I routinely see him in the 4th round on mocks, and I think this guy could walk in and start day one as a tackle, and it's not even close.
All right.
So,
well, I love that intro. So it's interesting that we just talked about a player who switched positions, because the guy that I'm going to talk about is Spencer Brown, who's an offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. And I said earlier that I liked him even better than Walker Little. And I would just want to qualify that a little bit. Walker Little is ready to go at left tackle if or anywhere on the O-line if we needed him, because he's a more polished guy. But Spencer Brown is an unpolished beast. He's even bigger than Little. He's 6'8", 311 pounds. A lot of people are projecting him as a right tackle, but I kind of hate that, because as you'll hear in a minute, we don't know what this guy can do. He actually grew up in this tiny little town called Lenox, Iowa, where they played 8-man football teams because they didn't have enough people to have a full complement. So they literally played in an 8-man football league. He played tight end. If you can imagine a 6'8", 311 pound, he probably was about 270 then, but he played tight end in high school. He got 0 visits other than Northern Iowa. So that explains why he ended up going to Northern Iowa. He was a 0-star prospect. After trying him at defensive end, they eventually converted him to tackle, and that's where he thrived to the point where he, over the 2018-2019 season, he kind of put himself on the NFL radar. He's even more athletic than Walker Little, in my opinion. He clocked a 4.94 40 at his pro day, which is pretty amazing for a guy that's 6'8". He's only played, so you have to look at if you're watching him on these videos. Keep in mind he's only played tackle for 2 years, essentially.
You see him throw that guy like a rag doll.
yeah.
So he's very strong. He's got good mobility. He seeks out contact. That's what I love about him. When you watch the highlights, is he's looking to go hit somebody.
Here, before you go for like this clip got me. The first highlight got me because when I saw him, it was mean streak. Like the first thing that popped into my head was he plays angry. And if you watch how he finishes this play coming up, it is just
what number is he?
7-0.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was 7. I thought
No,
he was
76.
76.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he wants to do harm to this guy, and it's blatantly obvious when he finishes that he's right tackle, and he just says, I'm not done with you yet. Stay on the ground. Oh, no penalty. Sorry, John, not to hijack your
No, you're good.
Package.
The other thing that's impressive about him is he had 3 different O-line coaches during his 2 years as a tackle. He takes really good angles in pass protection. He didn't have a good Senior Bowl because that was really the first time where he was up against like the top of, you know, the class that he was trying to block. But he got better as the Senior Bowl practices went on. And the thing that's most intriguing to me about him is not only his physical size and his mean streak, but the fact that his ceiling has got to be pretty high. I mean, he just isn't very experienced. And if it weren't for the fact that there are so many good offensive tackles, as I mentioned before in this draft, I think he'd be rated a lot higher. I think it's just his inexperience when stacked up against with some of the other guys that might make him available even on day 3. And I think he could be Morgan Moses's replacement. If we grab somebody else, I don't think we'll wait till the 5th or the 6th round to grab an offensive tackle. I think they'll do that early, but I think he could be the replacement from Morgan Moses. I really do.
He does not look like a 6'8" guy.
Sorry. I like it.
Is he a senior?
I don't know. I do not know.
Okay.
I know he just played the 2 years, so I don't know whether he.
Tell you what, you can see the tight end thing, John. The guy's first couple of steps, he's got quick feet. The guy's 6'8" moving like that. That's just not right.
I think the reason he plays so pissed off is because there's 3 extra guys on the field that aren't supposed to be there. I really think that's what it is.
He's listed as a redshirt senior, so yes, he is a senior. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe he did play at left tackle at some.
Yeah,
I don't. So he's played both sides of it. I now I don't know how effectively, but he's done it. I mean, I guess I've run a mile before. Doesn't mean I'm good at doing it now. So
I just think I mean, with 2 years, how do we know what he can do and what he can't do? I don't think it can be determined yet. I wouldn't write him off.
There's some physical tools right there with the hands.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of a 6'8" offensive lineman. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
as long as Kyler Murray's not your quarterback, I think you're okay.
Wasn't Jacoby 6'6"?
6'6", and he was a freak.
Jacoby, yeah.
Well, yeah, for the age, and he was the left tackle with a relatively short Joe Theismann.
Yeah, Theismann. Yeah, Theismann.
When you're that big and long, you can create passing lanes so they don't have to throw it over you.
I loved him in those James Bond movies, by the way. He was awesome. You know, do you get the reference there? Jaws. He always reminded me of that Jaws character.
Jaws.
In 007.
Oh my gosh, I'm still laughing at John, and he's pissed off about 3 extra players on the field. That was good.
All right, so I got one more, and then we got one more from Ken, and then we'll be wrapping things up. My next guy is actually a defensive back. Now he's listed and he played corner, but I think he's going to be kind of one of these hybrid types. He's not going to really he's going to be a tweener, I guess. He's not really going to have a specific role as much or a position as much as he's going to have a role, and that's Trey Brown out of Oklahoma. A little undersized, if you want to call him that. His official height and weight is 5'10", 188. He ran a 4.
Sorry, Derek. Watch the first play that comes up on this clip, if it's what I'm thinking of.
See, look, man, we're all great minds think alike. Is it this one?
Oh, boom. Yeah.
That's Sam Ellinger. That's not like.
Yeah.
That's Texas. That guy's that quarterback. He's stout, and he just runs him over. He just punched him in the face.
That's brilliant. Sorry, go.
Oh, you're good, buddy. His knock, if you want to call it that, and here he is, special teamer, by the way. He knows how to return a kick, and he knows how to do it well. The only thing is he doesn't have that finishing speed, but I don't care. Give me 75. It doesn't hurt my feelings anytime. His one knock is he's, again, a tweener, his size. 5'10", 188. He's probably not going to be your outside guy. Where he's going to make his money and be the best he can be is going to be that nickel corner, that interior who can start at the line against your slot receiver, and he can actually flash back and play safety. He did line up at safety on a couple different occasions. Obviously, on this highlight, he doesn't give up on the play either. He did not have a lot of interceptions because then a lot of the time it was plays like the one we just saw where he was shedding his coverage and making a play on somebody else's ball. The other part is he plays above his size. If you watch him, the majority of the time he's covering somebody bigger than him, or he's engaging somebody bigger than him, or he's running with somebody that's bigger than him. So he knows how to play small. He knows how to play that type of play, break on the ball, and actually compensate for his size.
You got a little bit of Daryl Green in him from the
a little bit.
Like you said, is he the next Daryl Green? Even though
I wasn't gonna say it because, for obvious reasons, I wasn't gonna bring that name
he
up.
came
But
from 20 yards deep to do that. Dude had deep coverage over the middle, and wow.
Right.
He doesn't lack confidence. That's one thing that I
No.
would
Correct. And he
compare him
does
to the-
not. He has really good vision. If you watch how he plays the ball, and he understands what's happening before it happens. So this guy's currently rated somewhere in the 5th to 6th round, if I'm not mistaken. This guy could come in and start nickel corner for us like tomorrow. You know what I mean? If we drafted him, I think he could. I don't think Moreland is comfortable in the nickel spot. I think he's more comfortable on the outside. We just kind of stuck him in there because he was good enough that we needed a position for him.
Honestly, this guy's most of these clips he's been playing the outside, Derek, and he looks great to me. I'd put Fuller in that nickel slot and playing the slot guy. That's where Fuller made his bones his rookie year with us before we shipped him off to Kansas City, was as the slot corner. I like that kid. Wow. That one play where he came from 20 yards deep to sack the quarterback 5 behind the scrimmage. Man, that was impressive.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't have Daryl Green speed, right? But he's got.
He doesn't have 4.240. No,
Yeah.
He's 4.4.
But he's got Daryl Green size and heart.
Mm-hmm. And if you watch, he plays with a chip. Every time he touches, every play he plays, all those packages, he's playing with a chip. He wants to finish the play. He wants to be the guy that makes the play. He wants to do that.
We seem to like the high motor guys because that seems to be the common thread tonight. Is they're all Mr. Hustle, high motor guys.
Well, I think that's where you find your sleeper. That's the high motor guys are the guys that their size doesn't restrict them. So people aren't looking at them, and you find your sleepers in that situation because people aren't looking at them because they're not prototypical size. They're not prototypical weight. They're not the perfect fit, but because they have a high motor, they play above their size. They play above their physical restrictions, if you want to call it that.
We liked Mighty Mouse because he was mighty, not because he was a mouse.
Correct.
Remember Mighty Mouse?
Yeah, buddy.
Here he comes to save the day. I know.
Here's his analysis. Brown lacks great size, but is a feisty corner who could line up in dime packages and be an asset as a return specialist. So he could walk in and make the team as a returner.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It's not like we got anybody right now that's just absolutely staked a claim to that.
Not at all.
How far back do we have to go to find
Brian Mitchell?
Yeah.
Brandon Banks flashed.
Yeah,
What?
Brandon
like
Banks
Danny
flashed.
Johnson on kick returns. It's a punt return that we struggle with.
I thought Brandon Banks was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to be the next,
Steven Sims even flashed.
No, really.
Yeah,
he had one or two.
Can't trust him with the ball as a problem.
saying.
Game in,
That's
game out,
considered
season in,
flash, but-
season out. I don't see anybody since Brian Mitchell that's just absolutely walked in and said, this position is mine and nobody's taking it away from me.
I don't think nobody's
What
held
about,
him more than a year, maybe 2 years.
What's that guy that we got from the Texans?
From the Texans that we just signed?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a project. I don't even know that he's even going to make the team.
No, what's his name?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wonder if the coaches know it. Because
What
we
I'm saying
don't.
is he could be that guy.
I hope so. I hope Trey Brown. I hope somebody is. I don't care where it comes from.
We got several guys that could be that guy, but having guys that could be isn't going to keep me from drafting a guy that also could be that guy.
Correct.
I don't disagree with you.
So we'll hit the last guy, Quintario Cole. This is Ken's submission. He threw this in the chat and then unfortunately said he couldn't join us. So he's wanted to make this submission, give him a proper shout out, and we can take a look and kind of read and react.
So I'll tell you guys a little bit about him that I found. He is from Alcorn State, which is a historically Black university. He is got good size for a free safety. He's 6'3", 190 pounds. He probably needs to add some muscle at the NFL level. They apparently they used him all over the defense. He played in like a single year. He played nickel, corner, and both safety spots for Alcorn State. And he's been compared to the Panthers cornerback James Bradbury. He's got a ball hawking type ability. He did have 7 interceptions since they named him a starter in 2018. And he's another one of those kind of right place at the right time type prospects. Very, very good tackler. He's being projected as a strong safety at the NFL level. I don't know why. My only issue with him is he's an Eagles fan, which obviously that's
Jesus,
his intelligence level, but
Philadelphia.
So Draft Network has him listed at 254. So that's a 7th round pick right there is what that is.
Or a UDFA.
Correct.
What he looks like he's what, about 6'1" maybe?
That's what I said, but he's listed at 6'3".
Yeah, I thought John even said 6'4".
Okay, yeah,
I've got 6'3", but that's just from what I found on the web.
Okay.
Wow,
He definitely can tackle. I like that about him.
you need special teamers too. That's how a guy like this makes the team.
Pro Football Network has him rated 349. So if you're talking, if this guy, that is supreme.
You're talking like round 11, right? That's
yeah, exactly.
But I think small school guys are really hurt by the COVID thing because
you can't
the
see the combine.
scouts don't get out. They don't come to the combine. They don't have as many pro days. I think it just really, I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Just from the vantage point that I think everyone's going by, more limited information than what they normally would have. He probably will be a 7th rounder. I don't know, but he's definitely got some talent.
Yeah,
I love the fact that he played that many positions because to me, that's like a football player. He's not, like some players get pissed off. You try to move him to a different position or they just don't want to do it. He's playing all over the defense and doesn't seem to have any problem with it.
And that's the thing we were talking about is versatility. That it seems like that's on both sides of the ball. That's what they like. They want a guy who can play anywhere, who can match up. And I don't think they're going to stop just because if this guy can wear multiple hats and play multiple positions and be an effective matchup neutralizer on the offense. I mean, you limit what the offense can do. He looks.
Well, we're starting to see it where they go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying he plays angry. Like if you watch, he finishes his hits. He finishes his tackles. I like it. What were you gonna say, John?
Well, I just think that's something that where in previous years where we had injuries in a certain spot, we were kind of crippled, and then we start bringing guys in off the street that were good humor men, a couple of weeks before. And I think if we have players who can play multiple positions, it's just going to make it. We all know NFL teams are going to have injuries. It's just a matter of how devastating they are in any given year. So I think the reason they love that kind of player is because it doesn't cripple us. We can just slide someone into that slot and continue on. And what was our offensive line rated last season?
We were actually like almost top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
In our minds, our offensive line is horrible, but that's not what the numbers say.
Right.
And that's because we had guys that we could slide around. We're like, okay, Morgan, you're going to play left tackle now. You're not a right tackle anymore. You're a left tackle. And
which brings up a point. Why did Morgan Moses played really well at left tackle? Why didn't we not? I don't get why we didn't use that more.
Well, and like so many of you guys very, very eloquently said in the last podcast. So if you didn't hear it, link down below for the next.
There you go. Way to network.
Because you guys did very well say that it's clear whether it's Turner or Rivera. You guys nailed it when you said we're looking for players who are versatile. And you said it not once, but many, many times. So kudos.
Many times.
Many times.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, I got one more name to throw out, and I couldn't find a highlight package of this guy. His name is
That makes him mysterious.
Tommy Doyle.
That's a deep pick.
Tommy Doyle.
Offensive tackle, Miami of Ohio. 6'8", 326. He played both sides of the ball, left and right tackle. He missed most of one season with injury. He also he opted out of 2020 because the season was originally canceled for his conference, and then they ended up pushing it through later, but he had already signed an agent. Therefore, he was ineligible to play. Currently rated, mock draft database has him at 238. PFN has him at 192, somewhere between 5th and 6th round. Draft Network has him at 226. From some of the things I could find out with him, looking into him, he has a mean streak. He kind of plays angry. He's kind of a leader. He did play over the course of his career at Miami of Ohio. He did play against Ohio State, blocking people like Chase Young, and he played against some of the more premier type pass rushers. Now, he didn't neutralize them, but nobody actually does. But the more exposure you have to NFL talent, the better, especially coming out of a school like Miami of Ohio. Just somebody to watch later. I wish I could show you a highlight package. I can't even do that. I've just been reading up on him a little bit.
Is he ranked anywhere?
Late 6th, maybe
5th?
7th.
6th.
6th.
Okay.
So just
Bob,
remember, guys, that we mentioned this in the first pod, that if any of these guys we've talked about actually get drafted, whoever talked about them has some bourbon or beer coming their way.
Oh, yeah.
Or chocolate milk, if that works.
Or
for
chocolate
you.
milk.
Yeah,
If that's
but if it's bourbon or chocolate milk, it better be high dollar chocolate milk.
That's right. Bob, were you going to say something? Did you respond when I said his name? Oh, okay.
No, I'm at a complete loss on this one, man. He's such a deep pick.
Bob, were you familiar with Pete Werner?
No, that name's not ringing a bell either.
No, the linebacker I brought up earlier.
No, sir.
Okay.
Not until I saw the clips.
This is the best I could find of him. I'll give you guys a quick share. It was some guy broke it down. It was like 3 plays, so I didn't even really consider bringing it up. But when I watched him play,
Is that him?
I don't know why I can't even explain why he stood out. This guy's standing tall. I mean, that's perfect pass protection. And they're playing Iowa, which was at the time one of the best defenses in the league. He just fell down and got in the guy's way. It was great.
Man, he sure sealed the inside on that, didn't he? That was like Ziploc tight right there.
Like, that's all I could find of highlight packages for him. So,
Oh, well, I'm sold. That was good.
yeah, there you go. All 4 of them. So, just a name to think about, somebody to look at. Maybe maybe he sneaks in.
So one thing I've learned in looking at draft picks and trying to come up with clips, anybody who produces a highlight film, particularly of an inside guy, and doesn't identify them on screen before the play, should never be allowed to produce a video. You spend the first 4 plays trying to figure out which guy you're looking at. That's just wrong. How hard is it?
That wasn't just me. All right, good.
Yeah, that's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time.
Hey, I just want to thank, before we sign off, I just want to thank Bob and Tom for jumping on late, because we had somebody going into reserve right before we started. So thanks, guys.
Next man up.
That's right.
You're very versatile.
Opportunity to jump on and talk football with you guys. Dude, it's my pleasure.
Anytime, anywhere, gentlemen.
All right, boys. Thank you.
Cheers.